Hey, it's Toya with your Wednesday word, and today's word is God is moving on your behalf. It's so easy to be disappointed or get discouraged when we don't see outcomes that we think we should, or we see them, but to us they come far too late. We want God to make a way out of no way when we want Him to do it, but it doesn't always happen that way. There's certainly times when we ask God for answers and He doesn't delay, but there are other times when nothing seems to change and He doesn't say a word. Weird. In my mind, for far too long, my circumstances didn't seem to be altered, and all He said was, continue. When we don't get our way when we want it, doesn't it seem like we go through the stages of grief? 1, denial. One of the ways we cope with having to deal with whatever is happening or what will happen as a result is to deny. We act as if ignoring the situation means it isn't present or on the way, when in fact it most certainly is. 2, anger. We should be amazed and shocked by the anger that we demonstrate when things don't turn out the way we want or they don't change soon enough. The presence of anger is a clue for us to recognize and acknowledge that there's something wrong with our perspective while going through something. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we should never get angry. According to the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3 in the Bible, there's a time and season for everything. What I am saying is that anger may be a part of the process, but it's also an indicator. And it's no place to park and build a house and live there. 3, bargaining. Can't we do some bargaining? Oh God, if you just get me through this. Lord, if you just make this happen. What? You'll do what? It's hard to think that at the time of bargaining, we are trusting God to actually be in our situation. Now, we say bargaining, but there's really an undercurrent of begging. And when you think about it, you'll see that it's not in line with trust. It's more about what can I do to get you to move? It shows our desperation, which has its own time and season as well, because we all must at times come to a place of desperation. It is often our desperation that brings us to the feet of God. But when we come, we must exchange our desperation for faith. Desperation will bring us to God, but only faith will move Him. Number 4 is depression. What happens when you try to bargain with God and everything still looks the same? You get depressed. What is the definition of depressed? It's low in spirit, the basic definition. When you think that you can tell God you're going to change, you're going to do this and you're going to do that, if He would just do this thing for you, and it seems that nothing is happening, you feel flattened, you feel low, as if life has been sucked out of you. By this time, you can't even get angry at what is. You can no longer muster up the strength to bargain with God. You're just deflated. So you start to do what? 5, accept. You start to accept that it is what it is and that you have to learn how to deal with it. Now, when it comes to grief with death and dying, these are the stages research has learned most of us go through. I think they also fit in the analogy of the perception of the loss of dreams and plans, of the way we think things are supposed to be, the loss of things we truly hold dear. But what we must be aware of and understand is that although we may find ourselves moving through these stages, each one is an indicator of where our mind is at the time. Each one is showing us if we can see. That's really hard to do when you're going through. We have to know that these stages are stages of process to get to an end. And within the process, changes are happening. Changes are happening within you, around you, and with your circumstance. And guess what? God is always there moving on your behalf, getting you to the end. You want to eliminate much of the process, but God is willing to use it to get you to the end whole. So often we want to get to the end half-baked, so to speak, because the process doesn't feel good. Well, God works in the process.